ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم علمنا بما ينفعنا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. So we started the series on the Fiqh of Taharah, and as Sheikh Ram is always wondering, which order am I going in? Why am I going in this order? And what I'll say from the beginning, just remind everyone, inshallah, is that the order that we're doing is something that I have selected. So when you go into the different books, you will find a different order. So I was looking at Quduri, and Quduri starts with the wudu straight away, because he says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu idha qumtum ila salati faghsilu wujuhakum. So he starts directly with wudu. And when you look at other books, you will find that it starts with the water and the types of water, and then it goes on to different things. So I've started reverse fashion, and I've just have a certain logic to my method. So we finished all the things that cause the wudu to be broken, the things that require the ghusl, and then we went sidetracked and we went into menstruation and istihada. And if you look at Quduri, the next thing he goes into is what are the things that are najas. So it's just by chance that I had this already there. And so the thing to understand is that najas is a legal term. So if you put spaghetti and tomato sauce on yourself, you are technically dirty, but the spaghetti and the tomato sauce are not najas. Do you understand the difference? So when we are dealing with najas, it's to understand that it's a state either that is brought on because you broke your wudu by passing wind. So when you passed wind, is there any dirt on you? After that, there's no dirt on you. But it's a state that requires you to do wudu again if you're going to pray. Similarly, when we talk about najas, so someone has alcohol on them, and the alcohol is a najas, and it needs to be cleaned before a person can pray. So the thing to understand about najas is that the person's body, the clothes, and the place of worship should be free of najas. And by and large, the fuqaha agreed that these things need to be removed before a person can pray. So then we have to understand what are the things that are considered najas according to the fuqaha. So who can put up some ideas, and we'll ask Sheikh Rami to be quiet for a second. He's here to correct me, inshallah.
Feces.
Okay, feces, very good.
Urine.
Urine, good.
Alcohol.
Alcohol, we said that, good. What about the boys? We get some answers from the boys. Do you have an idea? Sorry? Blood, very good. Yes, you have to speak up because it's far away. Yes, okay. So we said blood, urine, feces, alcohol. Anything else? Sorry? Animal hairs. Okay, according to the Shafi'i madhab. Yes. What else?
Dog licking dog.
The saliva of a dog. Okay, let's talk about more basic things before we get to complicated things. Like animal hair. Semen. Everyone except the Shafi'i madhab. Yes, the Shafi'i madhab has the semen as being pure rather than an impurity. Okay? So, just to understand that, what was the ruling if semen comes out? We did this 2 or 3 weeks ago. If semen comes out, what is the ruling? You have to do ghusl. And you did ghusl, and later on, an hour later, more semen came out. So what is the ruling? Again? You were saying no? You must be Hanafi. In the Hanafi madhab, you don't do ghusl again. But in the Shafi'i madhab, you have to do ghusl again. Okay. But the semen itself is pure, according to the Shafi'i madhab. But according to the others, it has to be removed. Okay? What about mani and madhi? Is that pure or impure? Najas? Jazakallah khair. So all those kinds of things that come out from the sabilain, from the 2 passages, the front and rear passage, all those things will be considered impure. Similarly, according to the fuqaha, blood is najas, pus And vomit is also considered najis. So if someone, what amount of vomit breaks the wudu? Who remembers? A mouthful. And what's the definition of a mouthful?
Different color.
Sorry?
Different color.
No color does not have anything to do with it. You can't hold it back. That's the definition of something that is a mouthful. So if a mouthful comes out, then that becomes najis, and then that on your clothes or your body will need to be cleaned before you can pray. Anything else? What about the hayd, the bleeding of the woman, the menstruation? Similarly, the istihada. All those things will be considered najis. Those are the kinds of things that by and large the fuqaha agree with each other. Okay? Beyond that, there's significant disagreement, and I will just summarize some things, because if you really are going to go into in-depth and learn about these things, they will take an hour and a half just on that subject. Just as an example, the pig, do you think that is najis or not? Yes? Imam Malik says no. Okay? And that will, be amazing. We're not talking about eating the pig. We're talking about the pig touches you. Are you najis now? Yes. According to everyone except Imam Malik, that is najis. Similarly, what about a dog? A dog touches you. Is that najis? You must be Shafi'i. Okay. So according to Abu Hanifa, if the dog touches you, then it's not najis. Except if the dog licks you, the saliva of the dog is considered najis. Okay, I'm wearing a leather jacket, okay? And the supplier says it's cow leather. Is this cow leather najis or not najis?
No.
Depends if it's been cleaned.
Depends if it's been cleaned.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you get the najasa.
What if it was from a dead animal?
Yes.
Yes? You guys are very confident, mashallah. Okay, so now here when you go into these things, there are significant differences of opinion, all right? But by and large, the key thing is, for example, in the Hanafi madhab, the leather of an animal, when it is slaughtered Islamically, that skin is not najis, it is pure. But then all leather, except the pig leather, when it is tanned, it will become pure. Okay, so if you took, for example, a sheep that died, all right, it fell into water, it drowned. You took it out and said, okay, I can't eat the meat, but I can make use of the leather. So you tanned it and you used it. According to the Hanafis, that will be acceptable. According to the Shafi'is, the Shaykh will correct me, the dead animal, the leather, you can't use it. Is that correct? Is that what you remember?
It's a maita, but I think it does total
With the tanning, yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
We'll double check that next week, inshallah. The general principle, though, even in the Shafi'i madhab, is that if you don't know what the source is, the assumption is that you can use it.
It's only the pig.
It's only the pig leather that you can't use. Now, the pig leather is critically important because you have a wallet in your pocket. What leather is that wallet made from? Okay? Then you will need to know, is it pig leather or not? So you will need to investigate. And in general, pig leather has an appearance to it, and in general, the person selling it will know what it's from. But you go and buy a shoe, for example, and you ask, I'm buying hush puppies. You ask them, where does it come from? And the shopkeeper says, what do you mean? Why are you asking? They don't. But in general, they should know the answer. So you need to investigate these things, because now let's say you're wearing your leather shoes and you're praying with them on. So now you need to know, is that leather tahir or not tahir? So the Hanafis made it easy that as soon as it's tanned, you can use it, except if it's pig leather. But in other madhahib, they have the differences of opinion. And if someone has a question, we can investigate and discuss that further. Dogs and cats in the Western world live in people's houses. So you need to understand what are the rulings there. To keep a dog as a pet is not allowed in Islam. The only exception is if you keep the dog as a guard, or you keep it for farming. To gather the animals, you use a dog, or you use it for hunting. Those are the three exceptions where you can keep a dog. So someone is going out and hunting with a dog, right? And the dog is then licking you all over the show, then that is najis. Even in the Shafi'i madhab, if something is dry and it touches something that is dry, right? So the dog in the Shafi'i madhab is impure, but the dog is dry, you are dry. So you patted the dog, you're wet, you are dry, he is dry, then there is no transfer of najas. Do you understand that? Similarly, if a cloth has najas with it and it's damp, right? And then you touched it, because it is damp, it transferred the filth to you. But if that cloth was completely dry and your hand is dry and you touched it, then it's not transferable. You understand these concepts? Okay. Within the madhahib, you will have to go into further detail, because in the madhab of Imam Abu Hanifa, he divides it into heavy filth and light filth. Imam Shafi'i divides it into filth that is heavy, mutawassit, and then khafifa. So for each mazhab, the person will need to go and study these things in detail. And they go into a lot of detail, and I won't go into that because A, you don't live in a farm, you live in a city. So you don't need to know what to do with a donkey and a horse, because you're not interacting with those things. But if you're living in a city like this and you went out to the beach, can you do wudu with ocean water?
Yes, you can. Yes.
Everyone agrees? Yes. Did you ever check that with someone?
It's a running water.
But it's salty water.
Salty.
But still, you can do it.
You can do it? You're all happy, mashallah. Okay. All fuqaha here. So the filth, that the najas that is on the body, is going to be of certain types. The first type is that it is solid and it is on the cloth. Something that is a porous surface, like the body or the cloth, then that will need to be washed away. And the amount of washing, when the fuqaha set the number of washes, just to understand it from a practical perspective, they didn't have tap water like you and I do in the city. So what they would say is that this thing needs to be washed 3 times, and this thing needs to be washed 7 times. But practically speaking, if someone had a tap water and he's running cloth through that, it's as if he has washed it more than 7 times already, because he has removed all the najas out of it. So we had this discussion that if you put the cloth in a washing machine, it only rinses it 2 times. So if something requires it to be done 3 times, is that enough? And the fuqaha even differ amongst them. But a practical, modern opinion really is that when you put some cloth that had najas in it and it went into the washing machine, although the wash is 2 times, it is washing it thoroughly and getting rid of the najas. So that cloth then becomes pure. If you want to be extra careful, you put it under the tap once and you rinsed it, and then you put it into the washing machine, then it cleans it 3 times. But let's say you got some blood on your cloth, and the blood is najas, and so you see it, and you have to now clean it. So practically, how will you do this? The very simple method is you took the cloth off, and you put water on it, you squeeze the water out, put a water on it 2nd time, you squeeze the water out, you put the water in it, and you squeezed it out. The 3rd time you got rid of all the water that you can possibly do that. If then you feel that you have not got the blood out, and you want to use something additional on top of that, like water again or soap, then the person should do that to get rid of the visible najas. A second example is where urine came on the body and now the urine has dried. So you cannot see the ether of the urine anymore. You don't know where it was, but you have estimation that is on the underwear, or the child urinated on your pants, so you know it's on the pants, you know where it is. So then it's dried off, you can't see it. Now this part will then need to be washed off 3 times as well. The same method that you wash it, you get rid of the water, you wash it, you get rid of the water, you wash it, you get rid of the water again. You all understood that? Any questions? You have a question?
Did you say the dog peed on the tap?
The child peed on your hands. Yes?
So even if the blood stain is still on my shirt, I've washed it 3 times, it's considered pure even though the stain's still there.
Even though the stain is there. But the principle is with blood and things like that, is that the person tries the best to get rid of the athar of it. Right? Any of the aspects of the blood that are there. Now the fuqaha talk about there should be no taste and there should be no smell and there should be no color, these kinds of things. But practically you don't go and lick your clothes. Don't do that. It's using your judgment to say that you have got rid of everything. There are some exceptions to these rules. So if semen comes on the clothes and the semen has dried out, okay? What's the word for it in Arabic? For semen? Mani with a noon, okay? It has dried out, then that can be scratched off. You just scratch it off with your fingernails and you remove it, then the cloth then is considered tahir. And there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and all the fuqaha agree on this, is that Aisha radiallahu anha mentions that she used to scratch off the semen from the cloth. And this is the basis why Imam Shafi'i says that the semen is tahir. And the others say that, well, if it was tahir, then why did she have to remove it? But anyway, those two opinions are there. If it is a surface like this table here, where things cannot absorb into it, then wiping is sufficient. So the Sahaba Kiram, when they would do jihad and the blood used to get onto their swords, they would just wipe the blades, and they had the swords with them, so they would be praying with that. But the blood has been wiped out, considered pure now, and the person can pray with this. Similarly, if someone is praying with their shoes on, so in a masjid like this, you have lovely carpet, mashallah, you would not come with your shoes. But if you're praying somewhere with your shoes on, and there is najas on the shoes, then the only thing the person needs to do is rub their shoes on the ground to get rid of it. So he stepped on some dog poo or some horse poo or something like this. He just needs to rub it to get rid of anything that is visible. And he checks it, visibly is gone, then he can pray with that. Alright? So how many different methods did I mention? There was washing it, there was scratching it, there was wiping it, and there is the wiping of the foot gear. So all of these different things, the person must take care to remove the najas from the clothes and the body and the place of worship. Now, a child has urinated on the floor where you're going to pray, and has gone, and it's a carpet. Now you physically can't remove the carpet and get rid of the water because the carpet is installed into the house. So what will you do? There are multiple methods, but I'm just going to teach you one simple method. Is that a person takes enough water that would cover the urine, he puts it, he lets it dry, he comes and does it a second time, he lets that dry, he comes a third time and lets that dry. So practically speaking, that's the easiest method. A harder method is that you take the carpet and you squeeze all the water out, but practically speaking, in rental houses or even your own property, when the carpet is installed, it's impossible to do that. So then after that, then that place is considered tahir, considered pure. Last thing I'll cover, and then we'll take questions after that, is if there is najas on their body. So someone went to urinate or he defecated, and obviously a small amount of urine or a small amount of feces is on the body, then the fuqaha mention that the person takes stones to clean himself. Now obviously in this society you won't take stones to the toilet because you don't want to put that in the commode anyway. So practically speaking, you can use toilet paper, and it is actually better that a person cleans himself with the toilet paper first to remove the majority of the najas. Then he cleans himself with water. Alright? And then the water will be used to clean the area thoroughly. Now, the fuqaha then also discuss how much najas is allowed on the person and the prayer will be valid. And before I go into this, understand something. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, مَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيَجْعَلَ عَلَيْكُم مِّنْ حَرَجٍ. The same ayah of Ma'idah about wudu, at the end of it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Allah does not desire for you difficulty, He desires for you ease. Alright? So a small amount of najas is left, meaning that if someone had a small amount of blood on his cloth and he prayed with it, it is forgiven. But if he is aware of it, he should make an effort to clean that. So if, for example, someone went to the toilet, he thought he has cleaned himself, and he prayed, and later on he finds that no, there was still a bit of dirt on me, does he need to repeat the prayer? If that amount of najas was considered small, then that is let go. In Abu Hanifa, and I should say in the Hanafi madhab, we define the area, and the others they don't. They just say something that would be considered insignificant. So Imam Abu Hanifa says that if it is the size of a dirham, which is approximately 5 centimeters in diameter. So if less than that, the najas was there, then that will be allowed. Or if it is a solid, something that is about 3.5 or 4 grams in weight. So something small that is solid, that would be let go. Alright? Any questions? I haven't covered many things, but I just wanted to broadly cover some of the main areas about this. And there's, in terms of the differences, a lot more differences that we can go into. We just want to cover some broad aspects. Any questions? Yes? Yes? إِنَّمَا الْمُشْرِكُونَ نَجَسٌ. Yes?
What sort of najas?
They're not najas that if they touched you, that you can't, then your wudu is broken or you can't pray. The najas is in aqidah. So the human being is not najas. But the dead human being, you can't use the skin of the dead human being or the hair of the human being. It's an important thing because women take hair extensions, right? So they will take the hair from a person and they will extend their hair like that. And this kind of thing is not allowed because that thing itself is najas. And then that leads into discussions about transplants, kidney transplants, liver transplants. So that opens a huge door of discussion as well. Yes?
So the hair of the human being is najas?
Correct. Yes. The dead human being.
Well, so if it was cut when they were alive?
No, that's not considered najas, as far as I have read. Yes.
So you said when someone urinated in the carpet,
Yeah.
so you
Pour water. Pour sufficient
when
water.
it dries out, the whole sign of the thing is gone.
Yes.
So what do you need? So you just approximately put
Approximating.
the
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. There are lots of things in fiqh are there to make things easy for us. We make our lives difficult, and when you go into the books, what you see the fuqaha doing, they're trying to make our lives easy. And so you have to use the estimation. Okay? So the life is not made difficult, so if you don't know where else you wash everything, no, that's not what it is. You estimate where it was, and you wash that part of it. Yes.
Baby girl.
Yes. Yes. There's a difference in the Shafi'i madhab that if the baby boy urinates on the clothes, then the person just sprinkles that area. In the Hanafi madhab, the urine of the human being, regardless of whether it's a baby boy or a baby girl or an adult or a child, all of it will be considered najas, and that will need to be washed off.
So that's only until they take the solids.
That's only until they are breastfed. So when they start eating solids, then that will be considered najas as well. That's correct.
Sheikh, we also said about the carpet. If you said carpet that's installed,
Yes.
you've got
If you have a sajada like this and you can easily move it, then that's different. You will wash it in the same manner.
It's carpet that can be moved, but it's just
Use your judgment.
same method of
Use your judgment. Yes, that's right.
Sheikh, what about the blood, Sheikh? We're talking about the blood.
Yes.
What about if the animal is slaughtered in a halal way?
Yes.
That blood is pure?
Butchers are given a dispensation. Okay, so dispensations are given to workers of certain types. Okay, so for example, I'll give you an example that we'll come to. Someone is working as a plasterer. He has plaster on his hands all the time. All right, how is he going to do wudu every single prayer time? He's got things on his hands. So they talk, get rid of everything you can. But if there's things inside the fingernails, that is let go for someone who does manual work. But everyone else, no, they have to clean inside, get it rid of. Similarly, the butcher should attempt to wear special clothing so that when he's doing his work, the meat gets on it, the blood gets on it, he takes the apron off and then he can pray. But if he can't do that and the thing is on that, because he's a butcher, dispensation is given to him. Similarly, the surgeon. In the old times, the surgeons used to wear the same cloth the whole week round. All right? And so they would have blood on different patients from them. And they're praying in that. So the dispensation is given to special categories like that. Okay, I want you to remember something. The urine coming out breaks the wudu, right? But if there is a tiny amount of urine in the cloth, will the prayer be valid or not? Today I just taught you, yes. Right? So, but the coming out of urine breaks wudu, those two things are separate. So
And if you are aware of it?
if you are aware of it, the person should wash it off. Right? Sprinkling is not sufficient. So what we see some boys doing when they don't know the rules, or some urine came out, they just sprinkled it. That is not sufficient. You need to wash it 3 times. Alright?
For example, Sheikh, if you're traveling in the train,
Yes.
you pass your urine, then you come onto the train and you
Yeah.
feel like something is coming out,
Yes.
but you can't physically check
Yes.
the public place. What do you do in that case?
You find a corner. You know, the deen gives leeway to the degree that you can. So what you have to do is use your judgment to try and find avenues of checking yourself where you can, in a reasonable manner. Right? So for example, it is said that a person should not urinate where other people can see him. But what if you're in a jail, there's 18 other people there with you? What are you going to do in one room? You know, you have to use your judgment. I have no other option, so I have to urinate there. Tell everyone else, look the other way. Are they going to do that? No. Right. So, you know, you have to use your judgment. You're going to make a comment? Yes.
So long as it's not waswas, some people have waswas.
Yes, okay. There is the people who have waswas. There's a whole, you know, books of fiqh have been written for people who have waswas. Okay. What we mentioned in the first class that I did is for urine, is that the person should do istibra, right? They should take measures to make sure all the urine has come out. And if you don't know how, come to me afterwards. I can teach you a very simple method how to do it. And after that, if he has done proper istibra, he should not pay any attention to waswas. If he is someone who has a disease, his prostate is problematic, his sphincter is problematic, and urine comes out without control, he has different rulings to him. We'll cover some of that next week, inshallah. Someone has a urinary catheter, or they have a stoma, we'll cover those things next week, inshallah.
Sheikh, just a final question. You said the best method is toilet paper and then water.
Yes.
Just with that, if you need to touch a bit of najas for it, the purpose of removal,
You have to touch some najis.
you don't have to.
Well, you don't have, well, that's true, you don't have to. But in general, you will have to.
Remove the majority of the najas away with the toilet paper.
Yes.
And then in the attempt to wash it,
Yes.
that there may be little amounts in which you have to wash away.
Yep.
What's the rule? Because I've heard different things about this.
It's very simple.
Yeah.
You should hopefully not hear anything, different things. So you use the toilet paper to get rid of the majority of it. There will always be a small amount there. This is why you are washing it.
That's right.
Let's say, someone had a lucky day and all of the najas was inside, right? And really the best way to do this is to squat. So when we sit on the toilet seat, some of it, will come onto the external part. And so someone had a lucky day, all of it was inside, he had a good diet that day, he has no cleaning to do. Simple, right? But everyone else, some part of it is going to come out, so you use the toilet paper to get out the vast majority of it, then you will use your hands and water, and that hand will, come into contact with najas. And there is no issue with that. And that's why we are told to use our left hand and to eat with our right hand. If other people want to leave, they can leave. I can see most people have questions. We'll keep going. Yes.
What about wiping with an odd number?
Okay. These things are from the Sunnah that the Prophet ﷺ said. As I said, I have not covered everything. I'm just giving broad principles that a person should wipe with, odd number, but it is not not wajib, not necessary.
Yes.
3 is recommended, and 3 in odd numbers.
Even in the Shafi'i school, 3 is the minimum.
3 is the minimum. Jazakallah khair.
For the qubul anyway.
For the qubul, okay, jazakallah khair.
The size of the najis,
Yes.
you said the dirham.
That was in the Hanafi madhab, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it should be unintentional, right? Like without knowing.
Well,
So you
the fuqaha have given that dispensation, right? So they say 2 things. 1, if you know about it, you should clean it. But if someone did not clean it, he is not sinful and the prayer is valid. But don't make a habit of it, that's what they're saying.
Okay. So what about Shafi madhab?
The Shafi madhab, they say, is what is considered small or insignificant. They did not define it. Because in a sense, the Sharia did not define it, right? So, we don't find definitive ahadith to say this much is okay, this much is not okay. What the fuqaha said was, what is in the urf, what is considered insignificant? So what would you think is a small amount?
Sheikh, what about if you go camping?
Yep.
And you go to the toilet?
Yep.
Okay, you wash yourself.
Yep.
After that, like you don't have hand wash to clean your hand. Can we make the wudu straight away with it? Or?
Yes, there is nothing in the fiqh that says you have to use soap. You won't find a single ruling. Why? Because soap was discovered later on.
What about
Right? The only thing that is mentioned is one hadith of Abu Hurairah who mentioned that the najis was washed 7 times and then 1 time with turab. So in some things in the Shafi'i madhab they use that, and in some things in the Hanbali madhab they use that, but that's not universal. And even in some things the Hanbali method says that you should use the turab and not the soap. So in some things they are strict with that. But by and large, the requirement for washing the hand with soap is not there. That's your concept of cleanliness. So you would do that to get rid of the dirt or the smell from the hands. But that's not a requirement before you do wudu. You have to remove the visible najis from your hand, but using soap is not an absolute necessity.
So the water is sufficient?
The water is sufficient from a fiqhi perspective. As a doctor, I will tell you, use soap.
If using the left hand or right hand, you said,
Yes.
istibra, does it make a difference?
Yeah, so for istibra and istinja, you will use the left hand. Yes.
So you said you can, in the Shafi madhab, you can the dry and dry.
All of them, yes. Dry and dry is fine. Yes.
So that's, if the asal is najis,
Yes.
still the dry and dry apply.
It's fine. Yes.
See, if the pig
Pigs and dogs in the Shafi'i madhab is as long as no hair or nails or anything else or other dirt got on you from touching the pig or the dog. If it was dry, there was no transfer of anything, then there is no najis on you. Dry to dry is fine. For everything. Yes.
So anything dry is not najis.
Correct. Yeah.
It's not najis, it doesn't transfer.
Yeah. There's no transfer of the najis from the pig to you. Yes.
Okay. So it's not about so the pig itself is not najis, like if it is dry.
The pig yes, the pig itself is najis, but the transfer of najis is only going to happen when either you were wet or the pig was wet. All right? Or both of you were wet. Right? So your hand was dry, the pig was dry. Now usually pigs are not dry. Like if you go to a pig farm, like we used to go to India when we were kids to visit our relatives and grandparents, and pigs are roaming around everywhere, And you go to, I have some relatives in Pakistan, you go there, dogs are roaming around everywhere. So these are practical things. We don't see that here, but we do see dogs. But in general, so for example, you went to the beach and the dog went to the beach and now it's wet and it decided that it was going to chase the ball after you and it touched you. So now the dog was wet. In Shafi'i madhab, it transferred it to you. You have najis on you now. So that part of the cloth needs to be washed.
That's a well-known Arabic saying.
Sorry?
In Arabic saying, we said, kullu nashif.
Yes. Kullu nashif tahir.
Everything that's dry.
Yes.
Considered
Jazakallahu khair. We'll stop there inshallah, and then whoever wants to come and ask a question one-on-one, they can come and do